Well, ladies and gentlemen, good evening for September the 8th, 2022. This is The Extra Mile. My name is Daryl Kinsey Jr. Give me one. Sorry about that, but this is The Extra Mile. My name is Daryl Kinsey Jr., and we are here on the solemnest of days for our friends in the UK and members of the Commonwealth in general. This is one of those days where, as one of our broadcasters here that does Washington Nationals baseball would say, remember where you are so you remember where you were. And this is definitely one of those days, as Queen Elizabeth II passed away earlier today at the age of 96. She was the longest running monarch in the history of the United Kingdom. She oversaw she actually saw in her lifetime 14 different United States presidents, 15 different prime ministers. She saw both world wars during her time on Earth. She actually participated as an ambulance driver in World War II. She's witnessed the Cold War, witnessed Brexit, the COVID-19 pandemic. A lot went on during the time of Queen Elizabeth's life. A lot of it good, a lot of it not so good. We are in the United States. We are not going to talk about it from a political standpoint because, frankly, we don't really have a dog in that fight. For obvious reasons, but as a historical marker, as I bring in Christopher Lehman and then Michael Ward will be with us momentarily, this is a day that I think we all knew was coming, but it still is a shock to see that Queen Elizabeth is no longer with us.
Yeah, like you were saying, it's one of those things you remember where you are, so you remember where you were. And yeah, I mean, the last time that we've had that, to be completely honest with you, was Kobe as the last time. I remember exactly where I was. I mean, 9/11. I mean, we've just, especially, people our age, we're all we're all relatively young, and we've had so many of these remember where you were so you remember, or remember where you are so you remember where you were moments. And this one, it's inevitable. We're the three of us. It's going to be our day sometime, Yep. But it's one of those that even for people like us who were in the United States, we definitely feel the ripple effect of her passing. And I saw images from the mourners outside of Buckingham Palace, and there was a rainstorm and then a huge double rainbow that popped up. And it's sometimes when these type of events happen, it's just crazy the way that the energy that's emitted can just create something, spectacular, almost miraculous. Yeah, so I'm very, my thoughts and prayers are with the family and everybody. She was a very positive. She left a positive impact on this world, and she's going to be missed.
Michael, welcome in. This is a day of historical significance. The death of Queen Elizabeth II.
Yes, it's definitely a day of historical significance. She had a good long life. My thoughts go out to her family, and the Queen of, and I was about to say Queen of England. I mean, the nation of Britain itself. And I hope they can take this loss and continue moving forward.
Yep. King Charles III was officially coronated as king earlier today. His reign will begin. Next in line, of course, is Prince William. And a lot is going to change for Great Britain and the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth as a whole. And we here at the Extra Mile do want to give our deepest condolences to everyone in the Commonwealth and to the British royal family. We will take a quick moment of silence, and then we will get into today's episode. Thank you very much. And we will get things started here on the racing side of things. We saw Max Verstappen took the win in the Dutch Grand Prix. We've kind of figured that was going to happen. Unfortunately, we have to talk about quickly the bad behavior of some of our Formula One fellow fans after that. There was an issue with Yuki Tsunoda's car after the second pit stop, or right before Max Verstappen was going to have to make a second pit stop. Tsunoda stopped on track. Then he came back into the pits. They serviced the car. They thought it was fine. It wasn't when he left. Stopped on track a second time. That stop kind of benefited Red Bull at the expense of Mercedes. And Lewis Hamilton, Formula One Twitter, did not forget about that at all, because we all know what happened at Abu Dhabi in 2021. That unfortunately led to some just awful comments made by folks towards AlphaTauri, to the point they had to come out and make a statement about it. I did see an article this week that Hannah Schmidt also caught some flack for that. Lewis Hamilton actually stepped out and defended her. I'll throw it over to our resident Red Bull fan here in a minute, but what I will say is, all of this nonsense is basically what happens when a sanctioning body steps in to influence a championship. For whatever reason, Abu Dhabi 2021 happened. It happened. But now, you have created a situation where no matter what happens, if something even remotely controversial happens, when the blue cars are in front and the silver cars are behind, and the silver cars get inconvenienced, people are going to scream conspiracy, because you did something you had no business doing. And unfortunately, Chris, it just created absolute nonsense for the team involved.
Yeah, without a doubt. And, the thing about Hannah Schmitz is, Michael is a Ferrari fan, Daryl is a Mercedes fan. Even though she whoops your guys' asses week after week, you guys still respect the hell out of her, though. She is great at what she does. And not only that, and I'm really not even going to touch on the fact that it's because I don't think it's worth, I don't think that it's stigmatized or anything, but as a female in motorsports, which is overwhelmingly male, she truly breaks that stereotype of, or she truly is that stereotype of sticking it to the boys. Yeah. But this is not about, the fact that she's a woman or anything. She's just very good at what she does. It's one of those things that the more successful you are, the more you're hated, a la Lewis Hamilton for 7 seasons.
Good night.
You know what I mean, though? When you're successful, you are hated. Jimmy Johnson, Dale Earnhardt, Jeff Gordon. You look at success and you see hatred or adoration, and there's no in between. And that's really how it is in sports as a whole. I don't think that any hatred towards Hannah Schmitz is justified. I've seen some very nasty things. I've seen some great things with people with hashtag, LH44 coming to her defense and saying, holding their own fellow fans in check in a similar way that, Max fans do hold other Max fans in check. I mean, I would call out people if I saw bad behavior or anything. But at the end of the day, I think what people got to remember is that Formula One it's sports, but it's entertainment, right?
Yep.
Why do you feel? And this isn't, why do the people who send death threats or say nasty things on the internet, where do you have the right to say that type of thing to those people? That's what I don't understand is how can you write, I've seen who I can't think of who it was, but somebody I just saw.
They don't have the right. It's just that they can basically say it without there being much of a consequence to them personally. That's why they do it.
Yeah. It's that anonymity of social media. It's got folks on go mode. Like, you take away someone's actual name and any consequences, they'll show you who you really are.
Honestly.
And unfortunately, social media has allowed a lot of rude and nasty people to get play. And it's frustrating because I've been a Lewis Hamilton fan since the McLaren days. Like, he's the reason I came back to Formula One. It's like, ooh, black guy in Formula One. I'm going to check that out. And he just happened to become the greatest of all time. But now...
Remember the hate he got at the Spanish Grand Prix every year?
Oh, goodness. Well, that's because he was Alonso's teammate, and that's geopolitical stuff we don't need to get into right now, but there's a whole thing about that. But
yeah,
these fans now that not only think everything is a conspiracy against Lewis, again, they kind of have a reason why they feel that, but are now jumping all over everybody time something happens. It makes the rest of us look bad, and it's...
This past week, I have seen more hate thrown at George Russell than I have at Red Bull or Michael Massey or Hans Schmidt, because Lewis Hamilton and toxicity is everywhere on the internet, and Lewis Hamilton fans legitimately think that George Russell is racist, and he legitimately went out to screw Lewis Hamilton.
No, he made it
like this was but in these people's mind, like Michael was saying, the conspiracies are just so unthought out of, or so woe is me, that George Russell trying to do the best he can to win his own race makes him a racist for taking new tires and leaving Lewis out front.
It's like these people don't remember that Mercedes let their drivers race.
That made me so mad when that came out. Like, he's racing for himself. Yeah.
George Russell is not racing for Lewis Hamilton to beat him in the Drivers' Championship. George Russell is racing to beat everybody he can in the Drivers' Championship.
Including Lewis right now.
Including Lewis. Especially your own teammate. That's the guy that you want more than anything to be, is your team. You want to be the top dog at your team.
And let me get... And I'll put this point out.
Has anything to do with it.
Absolutely not. I'll put this point out there. Then we go to Michael. Then we can move on quickly. But thinking about this, Lewis Hamilton's place in that team is set in Teflon. He brought them all their wins. He brought them all their championships. He brought them all their polls, all their media attention. Lewis Hamilton doesn't leave that seat until Lewis Hamilton is ready to go. So I don't know why people are acting like they're going to replace Lewis if George starts picking up. Lewis ain't going anywhere. Lewis gets to decide when he's done. And people just need to calm down about that.
Honestly, I think what happened on Sunday, it was unfortunate, but at the end of the day, he made a decision. At the end of the day, the pit wall made a decision. And at the end of the day, Russell made a decision. You can't really get too upset at, those guys, because like I've been trying to say, like, Mercedes has been a team where you're allowed to race. just don't hit each other.
Yeah, Rosberg kind of violated that a couple times.
Yeah, he did, but you're still allowed to race.
So is there? Oh, sorry. Keep going, Michael.
And it's just I don't understand why just because you're behind your teammate, you're supposed to just play wingman. No. I practice this all the time in F1 2022. You think I'm going to just slow down and let Verstappen win when I'm closing on him by half a second? No.
So is there something that the three of us, can all agree on?
What?
And it's that
Which is?
Red Bull did not use AlphaTauri to screw Mercedes out of a win.
I don't think they've ever used
There's
AlphaTauri.
no way. They would have had to have foreseen that the strategy was going to go that perfectly for Tsunoda to pull something like that.
And to be honest with you, I'm sorry to cut you off there, but to be honest with you, even if that would have happened, I don't think they hold off Verstappen. I don't. I think Verstappen would have won that race regardless.
Probably. But even still, if they get caught, they're out the championship.
Yeah, that's what people don't understand, is that the payoff of winning one race does not justify giving up your entire season.
No. And they're already winning the championship by like 1,000,000 points.
And if there is one tiny shred of questionability, they lose. They lose that judgment.
Yeah.
There's
that happened.
0% chance they risk their entire season to keep the third place constructor from winning a race that they're like 200 points ahead in the championship on.
Yeah,
exactly. And McLaren, this happened to McLaren. The year Lewis won the championship, there was a whole thing about one of the guys that worked with them, one of their designers, had come over from Ferrari and had some Ferrari paperwork with him. They lost all of their constructors'
They lost
points.
the whole constructors championship and was reverted back to last place. So the next season they didn't get. I don't think they got much. Matter of fact,
they didn't get their money.
They didn't get their money. Thank you for clarifying that, Daryl, because I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
But and they didn't get their money. They had the numbers 22 and 23 on their cars, which was like the last numbers on the grid.
Yeah, and by the way, they were going to win the constructors' title that year.
Yeah, if that guy didn't do what he said, do what he did.
Yeah, Formula One doesn't play when it comes to that type of stuff. Red Bull is not going to risk that, especially when they know about all the flack they got from Abu Dhabi 2021, even though they didn't do anything. So they're not going to be that stupid. But a team that is going to be that stupid, and Michael, I'm so sorry. We have to do this again.
Can I just say that your guys' trucks can't even make it to the tracks without tire issues? Your trucks catch on fire and have tire issues.
Look, man, this is not our year, okay?
It really isn't.
Michael. You're not a Ferrari fan anymore, remember?
No, I still am.
No. You promised us.
If
Ferrari doesn't fire
sir.
Mattia Binotto during the summer break, I'm out. And you said it last week too.
Why is your memory good? I hate this, but
I'm going to send you a Red Bull hat. Welcome to the team.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll hang it on my wall, I guess. But no, I'm not a Red Bull fan. But I still like Ferrari. But Binotto gotta go.
So can we talk? Let's talk quickly about what happened this week. So, first pit stop of the race for Ferrari. They brought Carlos Sainz to pit lane. They brought out 3 tires to change the car. Change on the car.
Ladies, 3 tires. Cars usually need 4 tires unless you're one of those weird 3-wheeled cars. But no, they brought out 3 tires and everyone was just like, what is this?
The call was right side only.
Okay, so apparently Ferrari thinks they're in NASCAR.
Yeah.
Apparently, it was right side, left front only.
They were getting ready for Darlington.
Yeah, apparently.
I just.
We were getting ready for Darlington all the way in Zandvoort.
Yep. I just don't get it. Like, you could have some mistakes. At this point, it just feels intentional.
So, can I ask you guys a question? Can I ask you guys a question?
Mm-hmm.
As long as you expect a probably disrespectful answer back.
You know what, Chris? Anyway. I hope Verstappen catches a flat tire. Anyway, can I just say that, like, do you think that they called Sainz in way too late?
Yes.
Like, you don't do that.
That's exactly what happened.
If you play F1 Championship Edition and you pit without telling your pit crew, they don't come out.
Really?
Yeah, they don't come out. And I think that exactly happened, and they had to rush to, like, get to the car, and they couldn't do everything in time. And I'm just like, that's not the pit crew's fault. That's the strategist's fault. They ain't telling them to get ready.
Well, it also comes back to the mechanics, though, because they should be able to communicate back with the pit wall and say, no, we do not have time. Do not send that car down. Abort. But there was no communication back to the pit wall saying that they couldn't be ready. So that's kind of a double fail.
Yeah, it's. And then the pit gun too. Like
now,
that also
what? And I don't know if you guys noticed this, but obviously with the pit stop, that gun was thrown way out. Perez hit it on the way out. Yeah. But I don't know if you guys noticed, but Red Bull set the fastest pit for the year, 2.0 seconds flat.
Well, they always do that every year.
But that was being overshadowed by Sainz's 12 second. But yeah, Red Bull set a 2.0 second pit stop right as Ferrari was miffing it. And but it was completely overlooked that they set and that, if you think about it, is a world record for the fastest 18-inch tire pit stop.
Yeah, that's crazy. And it's one really good pit crew and one really bad pit crew. And last question before we go to break. We're going to Monza this weekend. About half the field is taking pit crew, taking engine penalties. So God only knows what the grid will look like.
So I'm going to say this. Please mess up at Monza, Ferrari, because if you mess up at Monza, all right, and that means this whole thing will be inexcusable if you mess up in front of everyone on Monza. The whole nation can no longer not accept this, and everyone's gonna get not shit. So I actually hope it happens.
Yeah, that would be. I hope it doesn't happen, just for the safety of all those individuals on the Ferrari team, because that will not end well. As funny as it would be, I think there would probably be some violence towards that team.
Those folks are not getting home if they have another mistake this week.
Correct.
Oh, they will. They will.
And at Maranello, that things would not go well. But I saw somewhere that they're thinking that Max Verstappen will take a new power unit too.
Might as well at this point. I mean, nobody's going to catch him.
And this track is so set to what their car is this year that there's rumors that they're going to put a new power unit in it after qualifying.
That's disrespectful.
Well, Lewis has taken one.
Who cares about Lewis at this point?
Well, Lewis is going to beat Ferrari and the constructors and the drivers.
I mean, at this point.
So will George, probably.
So we
no
will
update on
see.
Herta either.
Well, we'll see what happens with that deal. But we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, NASCAR playoffs started on Sunday, and the playoff grid looks a lot different than what we started. We'll talk about that on the other side of this break here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, sports fans? Are you looking for the latest on Northern California sports? Then take a trip out west with me, your host, Gina G, on Reppin' the NorCal Sports, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'll be bringing it to you all the way live every Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. And it's always a packed show. I'll bring you everything Dynastic 49ers, the bite of the San Jose Sharks, torture of the San Francisco Giants, the Golden State Warriors that we still believe. Then take you across the bay to the rise and grind of the Oakland A's. I've got you covered on college ball from the Cal Bears to the Stanford Cardinal, so that no matter what, reppin' the NorCal Sports is always reppin' the Bay. So if you bleed red and gold, or you're looking to keep an eye out west in them thar hills, don't miss me, Gina G, on reppin' the NorCal Sports. Catch me every Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, and I'll have your fandom repped harder than a trio of defenders guarding Stephen Curry before his buzzer beater is Gucci.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Dentarius Locke.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That give you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
And we are back here in the Extra Mile on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We were just talking a little bit in the break about F1 Manager 2022, which just came out. Chris has it. Michael, I do not have it. Michael, do you have it?
No, but I want to get it.
Okay.
Go
I'll let
ahead.
Chris give his quick review. The synopsis is go buy it.
Correct, absolutely. So, I've only got a couple races in. I'm only 5 races in, and I mean, like, a race by the time there's just so much. It's so hard to explain. But at the end of the day, if you if you really like management games where you almost have to micromanage what's going on, this game is for you. You don't even have to be a motorsports fan, to be completely honest with you. You just have to love the idea of like management games, which is what I love to do. You have to develop your own parts, so you're upgrading your car, you're managing sponsor expectations, you're managing drivers, you're scouting new drivers, you're even scouting new engineers, team principals. You can scout. You can get. Well, you're the team principal, actually. Sorry.
I mean, I can fire Bonata?
No, but you could take his job.
I bet.
But yeah, like aerodynamics, powertrains. I mean, you are in charge of all of it. And then when it comes to race day, you have to set up the car for your driver. So you actually make adjustments to the car to suit your drivers, and your drivers are different. So you have to set up the cars completely separate. And it's just, if you like puzzle games, then setting these cars up for your drivers is absolutely your thing. I still haven't gotten the hang out of it. It's actually really frustrating for me, but I think once I understand it a little bit more, it'll become easier. I mean, some people say that they can, after the first free practice, they've got their car dialed into 100%, whereas the highest I've gotten was 83%. And they call that like driver comfortability with the setup or something like that. Yes. And so my driver is only getting 83% of the car, basically. But some people can hit 100 like first try. But yeah, overall, it's a really good game. Definitely worth it if you like more of the management side of things. You don't race, but you can watch all the onboard cameras. And you can actually watch full length races, which I do. I play it real time, and it takes like an hour and a half a race. But I literally get to watch a new Formula One race every night.
And you actually get to do the strategy of it. You can actually feel like Hannah Schmidt or Mattia Bonato or Toto Wolff or any of the other managers out there. So that is our view of Formula One Manager 2022. Go buy it. It's worth your time. So obviously obviously no one's paying us for that review. We just did it out the blue. Go buy that game.
Very good game.
Yep. So NASCAR started their playoffs, the Cookout Southern 500. We're going to start at the bottom of the results screen because there are some playoff drivers that ain't feeling too hot right now. Chase Elliott, damaged vehicle policy from a crash. Ricky's not in the playoffs, so we'll skip him. Kevin Harvick, exhaust issue, car caught on fire. More about that later. 33rd. Martin Truex Jr., the water pump failed while he was leading. Finished 31st. Handed over the lead to Kyle Busch, whose engine promptly exploded. He finishes 30th. We also had
Didn't Kyle Busch's car blow up on the caution from Martin Truex's car?
Yes.
During the caution, it blew up. Chase Briscoe finished 27th from the damage from the Chase Elliott wreck. Ross Chastain also ran into issues, finishing 20th. Daniel Suarez was 18th. Austin Dillon, 17th. That's usually where he usually is. But it was not a good night for the playoff drivers, fellas.
You can say that again, Daryl. My goodness gracious. They were dropping like flies, man. Yeah, it was definitely rough for the playoff drivers, but my playoff driver got in a better position because of it. So I hope to see it happen next weekend and at Bristol as well. I'd love to see more playoff drivers out, with the exception of the 48. They can all wreck for all I care.
I mean, it makes it a lot more fun when these guys run into trouble, because that means there's just going to be chaos when we get to these next two tracks. But Michael,
but for those of you that, the more chaos we have this week at Kansas, so Rich, who was on the show last week, and I are going to Bristol for the night race. So the more cars that are below the cut line after Kansas, the better. I want the points as tight as possible.
Yep. And right now we have 8 cars within that cut line, with Kevin Harvick, 13 back. Chase Briscoe, 10 from safety. Austin Dillon, 4 from safety. Austin Cindric, 2 from safety. On the other side of that line, Daniel Suarez, 2 to the good. Kyle Busch, 8 to the good. Alex Bowman, 10 to the good. And Chase Elliott testing those 40 stage points already, 14 to the good. Michael, people will complain about the playoffs. What it does and why we love it is because it creates great drama. And we are one race in, and it's already fantastic.
Yeah, it's already fantastic. I feel like the playoffs is going to get even more crazier. Mm-hmm. And I can't wait to see how it all unfolds, honestly. Maybe the champion this year isn't going to be who we thought it would be.
Yeah, and the best part about this, we haven't even gotten to that yet, Eric Jones won the race. So that's his second Southern 500, and most importantly, he's not a playoff driver. So nobody is safe going into Kansas.
I just want to say one thing, Daryl, and I think both of you will agree with me. Mm-hmm. The only fans who should be saying that they don't like the playoff format is Chase Elliott fans right now. They're the only ones who can say we don't like the playoff format. If you're an Austin Dillon fan, the playoff format is your favorite thing that's ever happened to NASCAR.
Yep. I mean, if you're an Austin Dillon fan, the only reason you're here is because of the playoffs, and then he won the walk-off at Daytona. But yeah, if you're a Chase Elliott fan, you're a bit miffed right now. But there's always 15 fan bases at the end of this that hate the playoffs, and one fan base that absolutely loves it and doesn't want it to change. And that's the fan base of the driver that won. So I'm not surprised about that, but Petty GMS, one of the new teams this year, they have been with Eric Jones. They've had some good runs this year. Eric has shown that he's been a competent driver, and it just continues that trend of drivers flaming out at JGR, going to another team, and being successful, which I find ironic.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, this year, Daniel Suarez drove the 19 car, have a win this year. Eric Jones drove the 20 car, has a win this year. JGR, I think they don't give their young guy, whoever that is, enough time to really develop into NASCAR. And they pay the price for it. I think Petty GMS really has been showing some promise this year. And it was not surprising to me that Eric Jones won the race. He's a very competent driver who is in less than ideal equipment. But this new package shows just how much it leveled the playing field. Petty GMS, and you can talk all the shit about Bubba Wallace as a driver all you want, but that car, I don't care if Jeff Gordon was in that car, it's not winning a race in the old package. I don't care if Jimmy Johnson is in that car, Dale Earnhardt Sr. They are not winning races in that car. But this season, we have had like 7 different organizations win a race, and when's the last time we can say that happened? When's the last time we can say new organizations or, 2311 has a win this year? Trackhouse has like 3 wins this year, and now Petty GMS. I mean, these are new or newer teams that all have wins this season.
2002 is probably the last time we saw it this competitive. In the mid-2000s, that was during NASCAR's boom period. This is what they needed. They needed more unpredictability in who can win, and we've got it right now. We would have had 16 winners in the chase had it not been for Kurt Busch's concussion, which he missed yet another race, and we don't really know if Kurt is going to be coming back here soon, if at all. So that's very unfortunate for him. But looking at how this season is broken out, it has been the most competitive we've seen in quite some time. And I'm excited to see how things develop with this car. And to speak on Bubba Wallace just quickly, they end up finishing 8th. Either 8th or 9th. Let me go back to the chart and get this right. He finished 9th on Sunday in the 45. They are in the Owners' Championship playoff format. That team has found some sort of form since they got the pit crew thing switched, or since they switched the pit crews, they've got some speed there, and Bubba is showing that he can run up front consistently. Now, they've just got to continue that through a full season, or it could be him being in the playoffs next year. And remember, we're coming to Kansas this Sunday. Last time we were in Kansas this season, that 45 car took the win, and Bubba should have been up there fighting for it if it wasn't for the pit crew issues. New pit crew, if they have the same speed, could be Bubba Wallace in victory lane on Sunday.
That would be a shocker if it did.
Are you giving us a spoiler alert for your nearest to win pick, Daryl?
We might be. We'll have to see. We'll see when we get into it, because at this time you usually pick the playoff drivers, but I don't think it's automatic that the playoff drivers are just going to sweep this thing again, because they had some struggles in Darlington. Obviously, Kevin Harvick had the massive fire, and he went off about the next-gen car and the quote-unquote crappy parts in it. NASCAR did make some changes to fire protection effective immediately. We have had some teething issues with this car. It has put on some good racing. Safety is a concern, though, and it's some things they're going to have to work on. We are now 27 races into the season, so what do you guys feel about the next-gen car?
It's a great.
Michael, do you want to go first?
Yeah, it's great. It's a wonderful car. It's provided a lot of racing. It's not too good on short tracks, but on mile-and-a-half tracks, it's a really fun car to watch race. Yeah. And it's brought a lot of winners, so I think it's been a great car.
I think that this car did exactly what NASCAR thought it would do, which is create better racing. We haven't quite seen what all of the conspiracy theorists were saying at the beginning of the year about how these cars would just be on top of each other. They'd never get separation. I mean, we're seeing separation out of these cars. But what we're seeing is it's not the same cars getting the separation week after week after week. Petty GMS has been out in the lead many times this season. They just, for whatever reason or another, couldn't get it done. And you see it with other teams too. I mean, Corey LaJoie has been in that 7 car for Spire. He has been impressing this season. He's been up in the top 5, top 3 multiple times. He was even contending with Denny for the lead at Daytona. I think it was Daytona, right?
Yes.
This car is doing exactly what NASCAR wanted to do, which is create better racing, to create, like Darryl was saying, a little bit more chaos in terms of who's going to win the race. This car is overall a great success. I think that this is really the type of thing that once you give it a shot, these fans that swore it off, I think they'll recognize how good the racing's actually become.
Yes. I believe that this car has done a lot of good for the racing. The mile-and-a-halves are 1,000 times better than they used to be. The plate tracks have been as good as always. Unfortunately, we do still have the big wrecks, but that's super speedway racing at this point. The short tracks need some work. We know that. We'll have to do something about that in the off season. Road courses have been really good as well, and it has jumbled up the field to where you don't know who's going to win every week. The safety issues have to be looked into, though, for obvious reasons. The stiffness of the rear causing some of these concussions and the harder hits has to be addressed, as well as the fire situation, which we think has been addressed. We will see this weekend. Folks are starting to get used to the pit guns, so we don't have to worry about that anymore. I think it's been a net positive, but there is some things that obviously they have to work on going forward, because you don't want to throw people out there in cars that people perceive are dangerous.
Correct. And I saw the technical directive for the new fire prevention door. And I think that it's going to hopefully help the situation. But what we saw during the race from Kevin Harvick, that was a very frustrated gentleman right there. He was very frustrated with that car, and rightfully so. I mean, we've seen these cars catch on fire pretty frequently throughout the season. The broadcast had hinted that it was a Ford issue. That is not the case. I know for a fact Bowman caught on fire miraculously. I don't remember what race, but this issue is in all the cars. But this is something that you learn from, right? The car caught fire. NASCAR made an adjustment based off it. And what can you really say beyond that? I mean, you can't foresee every issue that comes up, but it says a lot that NASCAR so quickly said, all right, change it up. Let's do this. And I firmly believe that if another car catches fire, they're going to figure out how to prevent it from happening that way. And it's just one of those things that you need to have a little patience. Overall, it's a great car. There are some quirks, but there was going to be quirks no matter what car it was.
And we have North Wilkesboro coming back for the All-Star race in 2023. I'm medium to the idea. I'll probably warm up to it when we get there. It's a great story with this track seemingly coming back from the dead. Michael, Chris, you excited for the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro?
Yeah. And just to kind of go a little bit further on that, Daryl, Dale Earnhardt Jr. really is this sport's biggest advocate. This would not have happened if it wasn't for him, his team going out, cleaning up the track so that it could be scanned into iRacing. And then just the type of support, the amount of support that Dale Earnhardt Jr. threw behind getting this track is really what revitalized it. So a huge hats off, thank you, congratulations to Dale Earnhardt Jr. I tweeted out today that I personally think that he should be running NASCAR. I don't think there's anybody more suited for that job than Dale Earnhardt Jr. I'm very excited, one, to not be at Texas, and two, to see North Wilkesboro back. But yeah, Michael, you got any thoughts on it?
No, you pretty much said everything I was going to say.
I'm glad that it is moving from Texas. Texas is supposed to be getting another repave / reconfiguration. Let's reconfigure it into a Walmart and just run all the races at COTA. That's how I feel about it at this point. But it is nice to see North Wilkesboro back. And Dale Earnhardt Jr., you're right, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is a great historian for this sport. He is the best advocate for this sport that we've had in quite some time. I know it's probably going to be Ben Kennedy's job at some point, because they will keep it in the France Kennedy family, because this is still a family-run business at the end of the day. But I hope when Ben gets into that position, he brings Dale Earnhardt Jr. into an advisor and executive role, and we go from there, because he has been a great advocate for this sport, and it feels good. Quickly, before we go to nearest the win, IndyCar settles it this weekend, going for the championship. 5 drivers still eligible at Monterey Laguna Seca, or WeatherTech Raceway, as it's called now, a classic IndyCar circuit. 5 drivers still have the title chance in their hands. These are the drivers that'll be going for the championship. Will Power leads them on 523 points. Joseph Newgarden on 503, tied with Scott Dixon. Marcus Ericsson 484, and Scott McLaughlin 482 points. There is an opportunity for a 1-2-3 points finish for Team Penske. I think Will Power is going to pick up this championship. Who do you guys got?
I agree with you, Daryl. I think it'll be Will Power. Really, all he has to do is just not screw up this weekend, if we're being completely honest. So, that being said, I think it'll be Will Power.
Michael, who you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna say willpower too. I think he's just gonna get it done this year and bring it on home.
Well, if the rules of the IE Sports Radio jinx are anything to go by, congratulations, Joseph Newgarden, on your second career championship.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that, especially when we picked Verstappen. All three of us picked Verstappen one time.
Well, Daryl and I picked Lewis Hamilton for Spa, and look how that turned out.
Well,
yeah,
he didn't even complete one lap.
Well, that's because Verstappen's the golden child and Lewis is not. So
I do want to say my favorite Australian won last weekend in Portland. Scott McLaughlin continues to impress, and new contract, multi-year with Penske.
That's got to feel good for everybody. I love seeing that he is going to be staying for a while, and he's earned it. Absolutely earned it. Speaking of earned it, before we go to nearest win really quick, a lot of news around Colton Herta possibly going to AlphaTauri in Formula One. There have been a lot of bad takes on F1 TikTok about Colton Herta's ability, but seriously, I would like Colton Herta to go to AlphaTauri if he has the chance. What do you guys think?
I would like it if he goes. It's been a while since we've seen an American in Formula One. And for his ability in Formula One, I mean, that's kind of what AlphaTauri is there for, to develop drivers. So he can run in, compete in the midfield, and hopefully make his way up to Red Bull at some point.
Yeah, I'm going to echo both of you guys and say that I'm an advocate for this move. The super license point system definitely needs some to be revisited, because Colton Herta should have the necessary points if IndyCar didn't pay like F3. And so, yeah, I hope Colton Herta makes it there. And just kind of something interesting that I heard was that if you look at the Red Bull camp, specifically AlphaTauri or Toro Rosso, Sebastian Vettel, Lewis Hamilton. That's something. Max Verstappen, Pierre Gasly, Daniel Ricciardo. That team has produced some winners. It's produced champions. And so when to anybody saying that Colton Herta is talentless or he doesn't deserve it, if Red Bull is willing to move him straight into that team, that means that they see something in that kid that you, as the average TikTok user, probably don't see and never will see. And that's not to insult anybody, but the professionals say that this guy's ready to go, and I'm going to take their word over it, over yours with 7 numbers at the end of your name. You don't even have, you know what I mean? So yeah. If Helmut Marko, who as much of a D-bag as he is a good eye for talent, if he says that Colton Herta is good enough for that car, then I'm all for it. I support their decision 100%, and I believe it.
Yep, he'll be if everything goes well, he'll be second driver to Max Verstappen in no time. But time for us to see if we know what we're talking about. It's nearest the win time. Last time for IndyCar, NASCAR and Formula One also on the record. I will start with Formula One. I mean, we know who's actually going to win. And with the jumbled grid, I have no idea who's going to finish second. I'm actually going to regret this, but I'm going to take Carlos Sainz basically to finish second, because we know who's going to win. NASCAR, I am going to put my money where my mouth is. I think Bubba Wallace gets career win number 2 on Sunday. And IndyCar, give me Will Power to win the race and the championship. Chris, who you got?
All right, so you did Formula One first. So with Formula One, this is a tough one, but I think that Checo brings it home in second. He's not going to win the race. Checo, this track is just the temple of speed. This track is just Red Bulls to win and lose. NASCAR, I'm going to regret this, because I might jinx him, but I'm hoping for an Alex Bowman. He's done good at Kansas historically, and it was actually running pretty good at Darlington. And then in IndyCar, I'm just gonna say Scott McLaughlin. I love him, not in a weird way, but I like supercars a lot, and so I hope he gets it done this week. He probably won't win the championship even with a win, but that's my pick. What about you, Michael?
For Formula One, I'm gonna go with Leclerc. I go with Ferrari every Italian Grand Prix. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Leclerc. IndyCar, I'm gonna go with Power. NASCAR, I'm gonna go with Kevin Harvick.
Hashtag nearest the win if you want your picks out there for who you think's going to win. Get your picks in before the close of before the start of the engines. And you might get some points. Hey, you might be able to disturb my points lead before the end. We'll get an update on that soon. I know we're going to hear from Matt White on how the updated points are looking. But that'll wrap it up for this edition of The Extra Mile. Remember, IESportsRadio.com, $5, hit our Patreon as well. $5 a month gets you a shout out on all 32 of our shows. Thank you so much to Bay Area Raised, Emlos Great, Key to the Great, and one anonymous donor for donating to our Patreon. And of course, the higher tiers get you merchandise, access to the Podcasting University, and a chance to be featured on a segment of our flagship show, The Defining Moment. Thank you all so very much for continuing to make iSports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. And make sure you keep it to the social medias on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And of course, our TikTok, where we have a lot of fun things going on over there. And of course, if you want to get out to us on Twitter, I'm at DKJunior12. Chris is at Fiji Sims. And Michael, do you have a new Twitter? I thought you mentioned something about that.
Wait, I can make a new Twitter?
No, did you have one? I thought you said something about that.
You can make as many as you want. I got like 7.
Yeah.
Why? I don't know. Yeah, I'll make a new Twitter because I don't.
No, you don't need to. I'm asking, do you?
No, I don't have one. You can reach.
Okay, I just want to make sure it was the same one. So Michael is. Yeah, so Michael's still at Michael_Wart25 if you want to talk to us during the week. So, thank you so much. Bayou Bulletin's coming up next for Michael and Christopher. I'm Daryl. This has been The Extra Mile, and of course we will see you at the next green flag. Good night, everybody.